Imagine driving on a snowy night, down a quiet road, and you see a car crashed off to the side.
Yeah.
You stop to help. But the driver, this young woman, she insists she's fine. She doesn't need any help. And then before the police even get there, she's just gone. Vanished. That's the mystery we're diving into today. The unsettling disappearance of Maura Murray, a 21-year-old nursing student who disappeared back in 2004, February 9th to be exact.
It's a case that just grabs you, and it's stuck with people for years, partly because it makes no sense. There are so many questions and things that don't seem to add up.
Yeah, and to really get into this, to really deep dive, we need to understand Maura as a person. She wasn't just a name on a report. She had a life. Hopes, dreams, maybe secrets. What can you tell us about her life before that night?
Maura was bright, athletic, a young woman with a real future ahead of her, a nursing student at UMass Amherst, dedicated. But her path there, it wasn't so straightforward. Before UMass, she was at West Point.
West Point, wow.
Yeah, as you know, that's intense, competitive, demanding.
I can't imagine the pressure.
Absolutely. And she did well there, academically, athletically, but she also got into some trouble. She was caught stealing makeup from the commissary.
Really?
Seems minor, right. But West Point honor code, very serious. She had to withdraw.
Wow, what a blow. That must have been rough.
Hmm.
Makes you wonder if that played a part in, later on, the challenges she seemed to be facing.
It's possible. And even after she transferred to UMass, there was that incident with the stolen credit card, the charges were dropped, but it suggests maybe there was more going on under the surface.
Definitely paints a picture of someone maybe struggling. And then, of course, there's everything leading up to her disappearance.
Yeah.
Can we go through that timeline? It seems like it all just cascaded, one thing after another.
Definitely. Just days before she vanished, Maura had this car accident in her father's car, a Toyota. And it's strange, the officer who responded found her dazed, let her go without any charges. She got a ride back to her dad's hotel room.
This is already so strange.
Right. Then on Monday, February 9th, she emails her professor's work supervisor, saying she'd be out of town for a week because of a death in the family. But there was no death. She made it up a cover story. But why? That we don't know.
Okay, so she's creating a reason to be absent? Then what?
Later that day, she takes out $280 from an ATM, goes to a liquor store, buys a lot of alcohol, Irish cream Kahlua vodka, a box of wine.
Sounds like she was preparing for something. But what? Did she tell anyone where she was going? Family? Friends?
Nothing concrete, no plans that we know of, but we do know she was looking at travel destinations online, the Berkshires, Burlington, Vermont, even asked about renting a condo in Bartlett, New Hampshire.
So she was considering options, but ultimately we don't know where she was headed, and this is where her own car comes in, the Saturn, right?
Yes. She left her dorm around 3 p.m. in that Saturn, and that car was a mess, by all accounts, unreliable.
That's odd. Why drive that car, especially in winter, if she was going far?
It is curious. And that car. That unreliable car. That's what leads us to the next chapter in this story, the one that really throws everything into question. Around 7:30 that evening, a woman named Faith Westman calls the police. She sees a car accident from her window. It's Maura's Saturn, crashed on Route 112 in Haverhill, New Hampshire, desolate stretch of road.
Okay, so now we have the scene of the accident. Then what?
Here's where the timeline gets fuzzy. Faith says she saw a man smoking a cigarette near the car, mentioned activity around the trunk, but no one else seems to have seen that.
So maybe someone else was there.
Possibly. Can't ignore that. A little while later, a bus driver, Butch Atwood, stops to see if she's okay. Maura tells him she's fine. She called AAA.
But she couldn't have. There's no service there.
Right. Exactly. Butch knew that. And to make it even stranger, AAA has no record of a call for Maura that night.
It sounds like she didn't want anyone involved.
That's one way to look at it. And by the time the police get there, just 10 minutes after Faith's call, Maura's gone. Vanished.
Just like that. No trace.
Nothing. In the car, they found some things. Her AAA card, blank accident report forms, gloves, CDs, makeup, some diamond jewelry, driving directions to Burlington, Vermont, her favorite stuffed animal, a book about climbing the White Mountains, and a damaged box of wine. Red wine.
Okay. That's a lot to take in. But let's talk about the wine. What's the significance there?
That wine has fueled a lot of theories. It wasn't just the box that was damaged. There were red wine stains on the car outside, and even on the ceiling. And they found an empty beer bottle inside, too.
So alcohol was definitely involved. Was she intoxicated when she crashed?
Could be. And to add to that, the bottles of liquor she bought earlier, those were gone, along with her debit card, credit cards, her cell phone. None of it's ever been found.
So we have a young woman. Maybe she's been drinking. Crashes her car, refuses help, and disappears without a trace. That's a chilling start to what would become a decades-long mystery. What happens next?
Well, in part 2 of our deep dive, we'll explore how people reacted to Maura's disappearance, the early investigation, and the many theories that try to explain what happened to her. Back then, the police in Haverhill, they kind of treated it like just another DUI, Someone took off to avoid getting in trouble. And back in '04, things moved slower. Social media wasn't what it is now.
So they didn't think it was that urgent. That's hard to imagine these days.
Exactly. It wasn't until the next day that Maura was officially a missing person. And even then, her dad, Fred Murray, he wasn't even contacted until later that day.
That's awful. The delay. I mean, imagine finding out like that.
I know. Fred drove right up to New Hampshire, started searching, hasn't stopped looking for answers ever since.
He sounds like a dedicated father.
Yeah.
What about the official search? Did they find anything?
Not really. The first searches turned up almost nothing, even with dogs. Tracking dogs, New Hampshire Fish and Game. The dogs followed her scent from a glove she'd dropped about 100 yards, then nothing.
Just vanished. The kind of thing that makes people come up with theories.
Right. Absolutely. And there are a lot of theories in this case. Some people think Maura planned the whole thing, disappeared on purpose, to start a new life. She packed certain things, like her birth control pills, and she was definitely lying about where she was going.
Like she was overwhelmed. Needed a fresh start. But wouldn't she have contacted someone by now? Her family? They were close?
Right. Especially with her father.
And that's the big problem with that theory. Doesn't really make sense that she'd just cut everyone off, stay silent this long, especially knowing how much it would hurt them.
So maybe running away isn't the answer. What about the tandem driver idea? Someone else was involved, driving another car, picked her up near the crash.
That one's gained some traction too, especially because her scent just stopped. It's possible someone she knew, or even a stranger, helped her disappear.
Explains why no one's seen her, but wouldn't they have come forward by now? What are they afraid of after all this time?
Maybe they're worried about getting in trouble, even now. Or maybe they genuinely don't know what happened to her after they parted ways. It's hard to say without more to go on. So many questions. And then there's the possibility of foul play.
Yeah.
Someone took advantage of her, abducted her. That's always a scary thought.
It is. And that theory got even stronger after Brianna Maitland disappeared. Just 5 weeks later. In Vermont, similar circumstances, young woman vanishes after a car accident.
2 disappearances.
Yeah.
So close together? That's terrifying. Did they ever think the cases were connected?
They looked into it. But the police say there's no link officially. But it's hard to ignore the similarities. And it makes you wonder, was there some kind of predator active in the area back then?
But if someone took her, wouldn't there be evidence? Signs of a struggle or something?
Not necessarily. If they knew what they were doing, they could have taken her quickly and cleanly. And remember, it's February in New Hampshire. Snow ice covers things up. Evidence disappears.
You're right. It's chilling.
Yeah.
It makes you realize how vulnerable someone could be. And then there's the A-frame house.
Yes.
That adds a whole other layer to this.
That house, a mile from the crash site, people have been talking about it for years. Speculating?
I remember hearing about that. Didn't Maura's father get a knife in the mail? A bloody knife? Something about that house.
He did. A blood-stained knife sent to him by the brother of the guy who used to own the house, Claude Moulton. The brother said the knife belonged to Claude, implied it might have been used to hurt Maura.
That's creepy. Did they search the house?
They brought in cadaver dogs. They reacted strongly to a closet, like there might be remains. It seemed like a big break.
Finally getting somewhere. But what did the tests show? Did they find anything conclusive?
No, nothing definite. The results were never made public, and there's another twist. The A-frame house wasn't even searched by the police. It was a private investigator hired by the Murray family.
Wait, so the official investigation didn't even look closely at this place? That's crazy.
Yeah, and it raises questions about the evidence. Did they handle it properly? Would it even hold up in court?
It's mind-boggling. How could they mess that up? So we have this creepy house, a bloody knife,
Yeah.
dogs signaling something bad, but nothing concrete.
Exactly. A lot of smoke, but no fire. And in part 3, we're going to get into some even weirder twists in the Maura Murray case. A mysterious phone call, and the whole world of online theories and misinformation that's grown up around this story.
So much to think about Maura's background, the crash, those theories. And now you're saying it gets even stranger, a month after she disappeared.
Yeah, it's a weird turn of events. Maura's boyfriend, Billy Rausch, he was in a bad car accident himself down in Oklahoma. He was in a coma for a whole month, and during that time, he gets this phone call.
Hold on. He's in a coma, and someone calls him. How's that even work?
It's one of the strangest things about this whole case. Billy said the voice on the phone sounded like Maura, said she was crying, whispering, which, I mean, come on, that's just unsettling.
No kidding, like something out of a movie.
Yeah.
Did they ever trace the call? Find out who it was?
They did, but it's not clear-cut. It was from a prepaid calling card AT&T traced back to the American Red Cross. But there's something not right about the way they traced it. Doesn't really add up. So in the end, no one knows who made that call.
Another dead end. Feels like every time we get a clue, it just leads to more questions. And then there's the story of Patricia Brass, Patty. She disappeared a few months before Maura, October 2003. What's the connection there?
Patty Brass was 16, a hit-and-run victim. Sadly, the driver was never found. Some people think Maura might have been involved.
Wait, you're saying Maura might have hit Patty Brass with her car and then took off? That seems like a big jump. Doesn't fit with what we know about her.
There's no proof. It's just speculation because of the timing. Both accidents and Maura's car was damaged before she disappeared. Some people think maybe she felt guilty, scared, that it pushed her to do something drastic later on.
I guess that would be a lot to deal with. The guilt, the fear. But it seems far-fetched to connect the two without any real evidence. And then there's all this stuff online, all those theories. It's easy to get lost in that. What role has the internet played in all this?
Once Maura's case went viral, it drew a lot of attention. People trying to solve it from their computers.
Yep.
But it also attracted some people who weren't so well-intentioned.
Those 112 dirtbag videos.
Right.
What was that all about?
Back in 2012, on the anniversary of Maura's disappearance, someone with that username started posting these creepy videos. One had a ski pass from a resort near where Maura was last seen. Another one was just a guy laughing like a maniac. And another had these weird images. A map, like a clue to where she might be.
Sounds like someone was just messing with people, trying to get attention from a tragedy. Did the police ever look into it?
Oh yeah, they found the guy pretty quickly, ruled him out as a suspect. But those videos, they caused a lot of chaos online, showed how easy it is for misinformation to spread, especially in cases like this.
It's awful that people would exploit something like this.
Yeah.
So after all this time, all these series, where are we now with the Maura Murray case?
Still unsolved. It's frustrating. No solid evidence. So all these theories keep floating around, but no real answers. The running away theory, the tandem driver, foul play, they're all still possibilities.
What do you think is most likely? What stands out to you? The most compelling parts? Or maybe the most unsettling?
Honestly, I can't say for sure what happened to Maura. Every theory has its problems, unanswered questions. What gets to me the most unsettling part is that we just don't know. A young woman disappeared, and it's like a hole in the world, a void that everyone who knew her has to live with.
Yeah. It shows that even with all the technology we have, some mysteries might never be solved. The question remains, where is Maura Murray?
That's what everyone wants to know. Investigators, online sleuths. And most of all, Maura's family. They haven't given up hope. Maybe someday something will turn up, some new piece of the puzzle that will finally explain what happened.
I hope so. For her family's sake, they deserve answers. This deep dive into Maura Murray's case, it's been heavy. So many questions, not enough answers. It's a story that sticks with you. A reminder that sometimes the truth stays hidden, and we're left with nothing but questions and the weight of a mystery that might never be solved.